Now, we're going to cross to the man who we cross to talk about technology, Lucas Ficarra. There he is. Lucas, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tony.
Good to see you again. Now, we spoke to you, I think, about 2 weeks ago, and I said then that I wanted to talk about robots because I wouldn't mind my own personal robot, Lucas, to be honest with you, someone who could do all the washing, do the cleaning, do the cooking, run the bath if I wanted to have a bath, or even wipe me down if I needed to be wiped down.
Yeah.
Are we ever going to get to that point, Lucas?
Well, we're closer than we've ever been to that point, I think, in history, Tony, and thanks for having me on again. Look, in the last couple of years, based on what we spoke about last week with the big improvements in artificial intelligence, that's sort of supercharged the development of all these personal robots and even in-home robots. As we can see here, footage of the Tesla robot. I mean, many companies are investing in these sort of humanoid type robots. And now there's even in the United States, now there's actual trials in people's homes of having robotics walking around their home, doing, vacuuming the floors, putting dishes away. I don't know about wiping you down necessarily. That's still to be determined, I think. But making you a bath, I think they should do. As long as they don't get in the water, they should be all right.
Well, there's a guy there, he's behind the counter and somebody's ordering a drink and he's handing him the drink.
Yep.
Now, I can see a robot being behind every counter in every shop in the world, and there goes a lot of shop jobs.
That's true. I mean, at the moment, I'd say the main limiting factor is the actual artificial intelligence behind a lot of these robots because, I mean, many companies, Honda was innovating in them for years and years, go back to 2010, 2015, 10, 15 years ago, they were on the cutting edge of humanoid robotics. What we're seeing now is footage from Boston Dynamics, which was part of the MIT University, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. That was their research arm in robotics, and that became mainly a defense contractor, go figure, to the United States government. But the main thing that's been lacking is the actual technology for these robots to understand, to understand human speech, to understand when someone says, hey, hand me a bottle of water, that it knows what it needs to do. That's what's been lacking, and that's what now is potentially at the time in history where it will be possible.
Well, that robot we saw, the last one, he was very flexible. He was doing cartwheels. He had pretty good balance. So when you said defence, I can understand why defence would be involved, because why would you put a human soldier in any danger when you can put
Exactly
something
right.
like a robot like that in danger? Now, the country that gets control of that and has more of those can control the world.
Well, we're going to go down that path again, just like we did last week, I think, Tony. But I mean, China's supposedly got a military of like 50,000 humanoid robots already, right? And that's just the statistic that we know of. So they've got, along with most other countries in the world, China's on the cutting edge of development of these humanoid robots. And China's communist, right? And their government can sort of control and, use whatever technology however they see fit. And that's already what we've seen. They had a whole military parade that was entirely robotics a couple of months ago. I don't know if you saw that. And yeah, that's just going to be the future of it all, I think.
So how long are we away, do you think, before we will all have a robot in our home? And how much will they cost? I mean, if they can get down to the price of a car, for example, $30,000, and then they can operate for 10 years, I think a lot of people would be interested because it would save a lot of time and a lot of work.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, the economics are there. I mean, as I said earlier, there's a company in the United States that's currently testing this technology of having a robot in your own home. But again, the artificial intelligence, the actual intelligence, the brain, if you want to call it, of the robot is the bit that's still sort of being ironed out. So the company's saying, hey, we'll give them to you on a loaner, and we'll have a person in our head office here remotely controlling the robot. So they'll have a VR headset on, a virtual reality headset on, and using their own arms and their own, controller, they would be actually operating this robot autonomously, right? They'd be operating it remotely to train the.
I'm just watching, there's some of these robots with their ability to move their fingers and their hands and to grab an egg and not break it. That is quite amazing. So if they can do that, then they can pretty much do whatever a human being can do eventually. As you say, the brain power is not quite there yet, but given what's achieved so far, won't be too long.
Oh, no, definitely. No. And I mean, look, the other thing is a lot of, our whole world, all of our homes are designed for humans to interface with them, right? They're designed for people with two arms, two legs. I mean, obviously some are fitted for people who don't meet that criteria, but they're still on the assumption that we're, X amount of feet tall individuals walking around, versus just a robot. For example, you'll see robot vacuum cleaners at most technology retailers, and there's no arms, there's no legs. It's just two wheels driving around a little circular device with a vacuum cleaner inside of it. So that's the future we're looking at as well. Possibly is a lot of specialized appliances that are just entirely automated. You don't even need a robot. What's the point of buying a robot for $30,000 to walk around with a vacuum cleaner when you can just have a vacuum cleaner on two wheels that drives itself around?
Well, if the robot can then go and do stuff for you, mow the lawn and do other things, then, you can get a universal robot that does all those things, not individual ones. How many companies are working on? You mentioned China before working on it, but I know Tesla is with Optimus. But how many other companies are going down this road with this sort of technology?
I mean, there's many startup companies in the US who are sort of prototyping, innovating, testing all this as we speak. I mean, this footage here is from a company there. They don't actually have a production product, right? They're just experimenting with all different types of motors and different types of intelligence they've got running through them all. Boston Dynamics, as I mentioned earlier, they were always on the cutting edge of, humanoid robotics. They've got many videos you can see on YouTube of them on building sites, them in, having full finger articulation, like joint articulation, like a human would, right? There'd be dozens of companies in the US and even beyond who are pioneering this. But I mean, Elon Musk has said on Tesla earnings calls that Optimus is predicted to be a $2 trillion $2 trillion in revenue a year, 10 years or so down the track for Tesla. So, I mean, I know he does say a lot of outlandish things, but $2 trillion is quite remarkable.
Well, it makes sense to someone like me, Lucas, because I remember a world without computers. And, computers are now in every home in every country in the world, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I could imagine a world now where we have these things in every home, just like a computer. I guess it comes down to cost, and it comes down to whether they're reliable. Do you know whether Australia is doing anything in this area, or even Italy for that matter?
I mean, off the top of my head, I couldn't point to any specific companies or anything like that. I know there are a few Australian companies specialising in, obviously, the defence side of things and defence industry. I'd say the main sort of application that Australia is driving is in terms of drones, so drones for defence and that sort of thing. Because, like as you said earlier, why would a military waste human life when they can have robotics going to war, right? Well, that's what a drone is on an aerial side of things. Why would you waste a plane when you've got a drone there that can? And that's what we're seeing in all the conflicts in the world at the moment. Thousands of drones flying, and Australia's on the cutting edge of all drones for defence and defence industry.
Well, I'm aware of a company in Sydney called Drone Shield, which is
Yes.
doing just this sort of thing. Now, when you've got a drone yourself, I know you have because you've been flying it around and taking photographs. Just explain to people who might not be aware of what a drone is.
Well, it's basically what you'd consider to be a quadcopter, as in it's got four independent propellers. It's not like a helicopter with a heli being a single copter. So there are four motors on each side, and these days you can buy them for well and truly under $1,000. They can go kilometers on a single battery. They've got very high resolution cameras on them these days. Like go back even 10 years, you couldn't get anything. That was all strictly business and real estate agents using them, that sort of thing. No one could afford for just leisure activities, but nowadays they're more affordable than ever. They're more capable than ever. And obviously privacy and that sort of argument has all come into question because they're so readily available these days.
Well, do you think there will ever be a time, Lucas, when you order something from Uber Eats and instead of a guy on a bike coming to deliver it, it's just going to land on your footpath or something with a...
It already happens.
It already happens in Australia?
It already happens in Australia.
Wow.
I promise you, because we're one of the only markets for DoorDash. So, DoorDash, similar to Uber Eats, they have a partnership with a company called Wing. They're a United States company, and they've developed their own drones for food delivery. And at the Eastland Shopping Centre in Melbourne, they've got on the roof, they've got one of the car parks segmented off, and they were launching drones from there.
And how do they know where they're going and they don't hit people on the footpath or they don't smash into cars or they don't drop stuff?
No. So it's flying at about 120 metres in the air, right? It's probably about 5 metres in wingspan, and it would fly for probably about 20 Ks or so on a battery, and it would fly. I got it delivered myself. This is how I'm telling you this from experience. It would just sort of hover there in the air. You'd hear it coming. You'd look up and you'd see a little speck in the sky, and then it would just drop a cord. It would open up its own little door on it, and then it would drop it down on a cord. And then when it lands on the ground, it would unhook itself and then go back and fly away.
Unbelievable. That is quite amazing. What are the safety things about there? 120 metres, I guess no plane flies at 120 metres. So you'd have to have all these regulations in place to ensure that it couldn't fly in certain areas around airports or that sort of thing.
Oh, definitely. Well, even with any drone, even if you buy a drone from Kmart, right, that's still under CASA, which is the Civil Aviation Safety Authority. They still have rules and regulations over anything that flies pretty much. So anything under 250 grams in mass, which obviously these drone deliveries are much more than that. But just for a average person like you and me, if you buy a drone and it's under 250 grams, the laws are quite lenient in the sense of it doesn't need to be licensed if it's not for commercial purposes and that sort of thing. And you can't be within certain ranges of airports, right? You can't be within X amount of kilometres of an airport or a heliport for that matter. But you also can't go above 200 metres flying, right? Now, one of these drones, delivery drones, obviously weighs much more than that. It's a lot more substantial than a little drone that would be probably 15 centimetres across. This thing is, multiple metres across. It's huge. Look, not to my knowledge, such an event's actually occurred, but I think, it's only going to be a matter of time as they become more prevalent. I mean, it's been very controlled at the moment. It's been in one shopping centre for, only a very small kilometre radius from the shopping centre where they're testing it. But as it sort of becomes more prevalent all around the country, it's going to happen at some point.
Well, we're heading into a very interesting and quite amazing world. Lucas Ficarra, thank you again for taking the time to talk to us. And
no problem.
We'll catch up with you again next week with another topic on technology. You are a whiz, Lucas. I don't know where you get your information from, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
No problem, Tony. I'll see you next week.